I'm just waiting for my Twitch to update. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we're live. That's awesome. All right, that was really easy. Okay, you guys take us away. I'm going to share it around a bit.
Yeah, so did you guys see the new gameplay that came out? The leaked
Yes,
footage?
I'm definitely going to be
Amazing.
making a video on that very soon. Okay.
It's
Thoughts?
really, really good, right? It's really show you like how the gameplay will be. How I don't know what if you had the same sensation. Like what really, of course, you want to play when you see that, but also you want to kind of have your own illuvials, because there's this huge list. I think in the open beta we'll just have random available to us, but then technically we'll play in the open world, and in this huge list to fight in the survival mode, we'll have one or two, like the one we can catch. I don't know, it will be really cool.
Yeah, so you're saying like in survival mode, it'd be cool to have like possibly you could catch one as well in there?
No, you'll have to catch before, right? Because the
Oh, I
catching
see.
will
Yeah.
be in the open world, but
Right.
that's why at the beginning you will not have anything. Like
Mhm.
in the open beta, in the final one, you'll just start, and you'll probably maybe have Atlas if it's like in the trailer, and you start with Atlas. But then you need to catch all the others. That's why it's going to be really cool, and we all start at the same time with the same thing. And the more you go in the open world, the more you'll have opportunity to get. I always want to say Pokemon, but Illuvials before the others, and then you'll be more advanced to earn more in survival. Like stuff.
So real quick, have they said that they're gonna keep survival mode in one of the main modes in the game, or are they gonna, or is that just for beta?
Yeah, so there may be other ways of doing this in the future as well. But the main thing that survival mode is going to be for is it's going to be the primary earning mechanic for any in-game yield. Basically, it's your equivalent of player versus enemy, player versus environment, or whatever in Axie Infinity. It's you going in, try to last as long as you can. If you're lasting a lot longer than other people, then you're earning more ILV than them. Now, that being said, it's I believe in an interview he said 800,000 ILV, but it could be a lot less. Let's say 500,000 ILV over the course of 3 years. So when you really think about it, if you have 500,000 players over 3 years, each player is on average earning 1 ILV.
Yeah,
so
but
it is not much yield.
But they did mention also that you'll have way more at the beginning, right? They had a pool that they needed kind of to liquidate, and you'll have way more chances to earn at the beginning because they just had this amount that was supposed to be match or similar to the yield farming, but it was not used, and they want to spend a lot at the beginning. So I think at the beginning is going to be super interesting. That's where we'll have so much competition on getting Illuvials to be able to play, to be able to win.
Lunar, is that your real fate? Like, are you Gimli's dad? Is that what that is?
Somebody told me
you look like you're a full-grown Gimli, so that, like the Viking, looks awesome.
Somebody told me they thought it was a real helmet. It's not, but
it looks good. Yeah, the graphics. Yeah,
I can change to Scoriox favorite like this one. Scoriox like this.
There you go. Did you?
No, don't.
Yeah, that reminds me of Disney news randomly. The ex CEO is getting into more of like the Avatar stuff, but that's just a little side note.
What do you mean? What do you mean the Avatar stuff? I haven't quite watched a video yet.
Yeah, so he is getting into. He's like on a board of a project that's getting into the metaverse, like, and they create avatars for people, and they're also working with companies to create fashion as well in the metaverse. So it's also going to open up for creators. So if you're creative and you want to develop on their platform, they will let you do that, and they will give you the tools to do that, so you can make your own gear and create your own worlds. I mean, it's very cool. It's very, very cool. And the founder's only 29 years old, and for him to sign a deal with Bob Iger, the ex-CEO of Disney, is pretty big for him. So
that's crazy.
I kind of hope we'll be able at some point to have that kind of features that you can create on the land. So with the territory, with the land, we got Illuvium 0. But I think it would be really cool if later on there would be some kind of proposal so that, and I think it was discussed in some of the game, where basically you'll be able to host something that you can create on your land.
Mhm.
You have to code it, develop it, etc. But maybe you can create, a mini casino. Come play in my land, and it's like the famous casino where, just people enjoy to play. It would be cool just to, allow the community to create stuff on top of what they acquired. Of course, the
Yeah,
DAO would
yeah.
have a percentage.
Yeah, it would be cool. I agree. Like to have something on your land that's unique or special, or unique to you, that gives it more of that personal touch. That would be very cool. Or maybe assets that they kind of preload for people that are creative that can create stuff on their land. I think that would be very cool, not only for the in game, but for users or landowners, if you will. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the big thing with decentralization is the freedom, and then we could start allowing freedom for creatives and stuff as well. But that is one of the reasons I actually quite like the Sandbox project. I think I've sold all my sand now because I don't know. I was just doing a lot of stuff, but that was probably my favorite part of it because that's the thing. Like, I'm a creative person, so I know how to use a lot of design software, modeling software, and things like that. But something like the Sandbox allows anyone to try what they want, make 3D models, graphics, all that sort of stuff, because they've created interfaces for all of that. And then that person can put that stuff into the game, and that's really powerful. I mean, it's one of the reasons. I'm not saying they copied Minecraft, but it's one of the reasons Minecraft became one of the biggest games in the world. Is because it was so easy for anyone to do what they wanted. And they created a simple way of doing that through the use of cube geometry. If that's the right way to put it, through simple geometry. I think that was really cool. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to jump into this. So even though we're like 7 minutes in. So welcome everyone to the stream, where I'm Scoriox. I know we're not going to get a whole lot of viewers here, but we'll be re-uploading it in locations as well. So we're definitely going to be showing a lot of people this stuff. And as always, if we have some questions at the end, we're going to be doing a Q&A. But welcome to this next episode. We're going to be covering a few awesome topics. We're going to be talking about the crypto market crash. And kind of where that takes us and how you might be approaching the crypto markets in this really volatile time. I know a lot of people are really scared. I've been getting DMs about it and things as well. You should never over leverage. And obviously this is not financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor, but we're going to be discussing kind of like some of the ways that we look at this sort of stuff, having been in the crypto markets for a decent amount of time. Probably longer than most of my viewers, at least. We're going to be discussing the Illuvium roadmap and kind of the sorts of things that are happening soon, and actually have some exciting stuff to talk about on that as well. So definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. I'm sure there will be, when uploaded on YouTube, I'm sure there'll be timestamps and things as well. And the last main thing we're going to talk about is, can NFTs save your portfolio during a recession? This is definitely going to be an interesting topic. I'm sure we have a lot of opinions on this sort of stuff, but there are going to be a lot of interesting and hot takes too. So I'm very excited to get into that one. So definitely stay through to the end. And the last thing we're going to talk about, as just a bit of a side note, is kind of what are our goals for the upcoming land sale. It's a recurring topic of what people a lot of people are like, should I get a T1, T2, T3? We're going to have a quick chat about kind of how we're thinking about it. If that will help inform your decision. We don't want to make your decisions for you, but I definitely want to help inform it. So just on that, with me today, I have two really awesome content creators. I have Ilwenor, who does primarily work with the French community in the Illuvium scene, which is growing very, very quickly. So very exciting to have a diverse range of communities for Illuvium. He also has a decent financial background, some knowledge on Solidity and stuff as well. So he has a wealth of knowledge. His DMs are often open. He probably gets a lot of them. But if you want to have a chat about some of that stuff, I'm sure he's available. And as soon as this is re-uploaded and things, I'll get the links to all their channels and everything as well. No idea how to do that on Twitch yet, so you'll have to forgive me. And as always, this is Carl Wilson. He's been on the channel before as well. And he is primarily a VV YouTuber, but he's been making more Illuvium content. So we're definitely welcoming him into the community, giving him a warm welcome. And let's hope he's a staple in Illuvium for the years to come as well. But he has some awesome content on VV. And he probably knows more about NFTs than I do. So probably so does Eleanor. My NFT knowledge is good, but not as strong as these two. So definitely give them a follow, give them some chat, have a look at their channels. They have a lot to offer. So, and I'm Scoriox. I do mostly maths and numbers and analysis and things like that. And you guys probably know my channel already at this point. So as always, we're going to jump into the first topic. So the token price, when I last checked, maybe it's moved now, was sitting under $500 USD. Should you be buying now, or do you think there is a greater dip to come? We'll start with you, Eleanor.
Okay, not financial advice. Because should you buy? So personally, I think it's just a huge opportunity with this SILV pool right now. I think the SILV is at 200 or below. That's what I did. So I will not recommend people to do like the opposite of what I did. I'm interested in the Illuvita. I'm interested in the game. I'm interested of the usage of SILV2. Obviously, I'm interested in the land. And having something at such a discount it's there, it's now. So you'll have it. Like if you want to play the game and you might spend, $5K or 500 on the game, you can double it by getting SILV now. So this is not speculation. This is real. We know the SLV will be used, and you can double it. So that's my recommendation. Now, if you want to invest in the game long term, well, yeah, we're in the middle of this war with Russia, etc. It's there's a lot of uncertainty. It's probably a moment where you want to invest in something that is as stable as possible. If you're gonna play the game, you will use the SILV. Period. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think yeah, SILV, a lot of people discuss it as kind of like it'll be dead in 3 or 4 years when you can't claim it anymore and stuff like that. And I brought this up with a proposal that has been based on a previous proposal and things like that. But as Eleanor said, it's pretty hard set in fact. It's if you buy it now, it'll have the buying power of ILV when the game launches. Now, could the ILV price be lower than SILV is today? Sure, it could. But I personally see that as quite unlikely. If that's the case, then I think we have more pressing things to worry about. Anyways, what do you reckon, Carl?
Yeah. So first off, I would say, it's all going to come down to each individual and their, risk tolerance and their own financial situation. So obviously, like Anthony said, not financial advice, right? So this is just entertainment only, but no, but for real, yeah, there could be a small dip, it's under the 500 level. And, what I've kind of inherited in my trading, technical analysis is anytime it's below a round number, you always want to watch the chart very, very closely if you are wanting to pick up a dip. So I'm not saying it's going to dip that much because I'm looking at the chart right now. And I can't imagine it dipping, too much. I mean, there's the token unlock coming soon. You really don't have to worry about founders like as solid as Kieran and the brothers and Illuvium. It's more so on the traders. So yeah, there could be a possible dip. And, if you want to DCA, if you're long-term on this project, that's always a great, great move for sure. Because I believe this token is going to be, way more than it is right now in the future. And especially when the game launches, it's going to act as its own hedge when there's a million gamers on the platform, just what that will do to the price. And so, it all depends on each person's strategy and what their plan is. Like if you're a short-term trader, you're going to have a way different outlook and investment style than somebody that's looking at this IOV token for the next 5 or 10 years. And so it all depends on that. But yeah, for me, I'm in the buy mode and I'm looking at a smooth, nice entry. And that's my opinion on that. And as Alunar said, like, yeah, there's the what's going on in Ukraine versus Russia right now, where there's a lot of uncertainty. One of the positive things that came out today was, they had good talks, supposedly. So I can't imagine that it's great for Russia's economy to just be kind of stuck with all the things going on, the sanctions. And I just can't imagine that they would just continue to do that, because it's not good for them, or really anybody in the world. So um, I'm a little bit positive. Hopefully they can resolve that issue. I'm, praying and hoping that they come to some kind of peaceful terms. And so that will definitely reflect the token price. If they can come away with this in a good situation, that's going to have a lot more confidence in the overall market, crypto especially, and if that's going to definitely trickle down to the ILV token. So
yeah, I think that's the thing, right? It's even people have been talking to me about fancy birds as well. Like it's the overall crypto markets which are following the stock markets. So the overall sentiment and just kind of where the world is at the moment, it's so unpredictable. There's not really much we can say. But I think if you want to be as safe as possible, I think DCA is your best strategy. For those of you that don't know, DCA is dollar cost averaging. That is when you buy let's say a small amount every week, every month or whatever, just consistently as much as you can, and you'll just average out those buys. So if we dip lower, you'll have more money to spend. If we go higher, you already managed to buy some, maybe you take profits or whatever. But it's just trying to be as careful and as long-term as you can is the best move for me. And it also helps deal with the psychology and the mindset of the price, let's say, going everywhere.
Just one small
it's not
thing
easy.
though.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot of people, it's always the same, right? A lot of people, when the token was at 1900, were saying, oh, I'm waiting for a dip. No, I wish I could have bought it in September at 500. Right now we are at price pre-Binance announcement, right? So basically we were more or less there, and with Binance we went in the 600. Well, just discuss with yourself from the past, did you really want it to buy at that price? Because it's here now. That's a typical Bitcoin thing, right? Oh, it's almost 70K. No, I would buy it at 50, and then when it's at 30 you're like, oh no, it's too low now, I don't want to buy it. So yeah, just consider that.
yeah, I totally agree. It's like you want to buy when things are low and not buy when things are high. And, you always want to have that reverse psychology in trading. When the market sentiment is bearish, that as an investor, that is a good thing, because you can buy in at a low price. And then when things are bullish, you've already bought in. And when it goes bull, you are in profits at that point. So that's the whole trick in investing. And I know people, they tend to think the other way around, but that's not how you win in investing. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
So we're going to jump on to the next topic, which I think is going to be really exciting for a lot of people. And we're going to chat about the current Illuvium roadmap. Obviously, this is up in the air. There are changes quite often. And this is not an official announcement by Illuvium or anything either. But recently, Kieran did have a chat in the Discord. He's in the Discord quite often, by the way. So if you guys want to chat to Kieran, he's usually around. So keep that in mind as well. But he has discussed that the staking V2 IIP, which is the proposal, I don't know what the I and I stand for, will likely go out
Illuvium
tomorrow.
Improvement Proposal.
That's right. It'll likely go out tomorrow. And if there are no issues with the last bit of testing, then hopefully by the end of the week, staking V2 should be live. Now, quite frankly, I think end of next week, maximum. I think V2 is going to be out there. And their plans are for land sale within 2 weeks of that. I think that lines up with a lot of stuff because they're kicking up the Illuvium YouTube lately. And I think this really sets them up to have that YouTube running all their any land sale marketing and things like that as well. So that's really exciting. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think V2 will be live soon, or do you think we're going to be waiting a little while still?
I think it'll be live soon. Yeah, I just the way that they're rolling out videos, like you said, the YouTube, it seems like that marketing is going to start going into full swing for them. Like, and they're going to start hyping up the launch of the game. So yeah, I would imagine SILV2 is just right around the corner and going to be live. So
Yeah, I agree. I guess the point you made is the most important one. Like Andrew has been doing a great job. He's been pushing, lots like the marketing, etc. He started his own podcast. Something's happening. You don't start that when you know you're 3 months away. So V2 should be there. Plus, it was said, right? As soon as we got SIL V2, we check everything is fine. Then we go to V2. Then we go to 2 weeks. Then it's a land sale. So yeah. Now the exact day will it be in a week or in a week and a half? There's no guarantee, but it's coming.
yeah, I feel like it's like you said, 2 weeks to me is a pretty good estimate. And but like you said, like to some people that could feel like an eternity, but for me that's pretty quick. That's not bad in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
Do you think things will start to really kick off once V2 comes out? Do you think land sales around the corner and things like that? Because last time we got, I know it's a bit loaded. Last time we got information, it was like SIL V2 will come out, then 1 week later we'll have V2 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Their estimates in the past were land sale 2 weeks after V2, but SIL V2 happened maybe 2 weeks ago now. And we still hadn't really seen V2 come about. Although, really, if it was 2 weeks, then we're not actually that far out. But do you guys think things will really start to kick off, or we still got a bit for the land sale? What like in terms of like marketing and things like that? Are they in the place where they're ready to do it?
I think they're near, but we know that it's an amazing team. They're really good at what they are doing. They are not extremely good with dates. So right now, I mean, I bought all the SILV and took on my reward as a SILV, thinking that I will be buying lands in November. Then, of course, there was the hack, but then post hack, there's some other delay. I think they could probably have known before that it will be delayed, but that's fine. So once you just accept that, and like, okay, the game looks amazing. The trailer from today, like the game plays just great. I want to play that. Well, do we have to wait a bit more? Probably. Like you just need to add a few days or weeks to whatever date they say, just because they are, really optimistic, plus really wants to get that out. I think the land sale will be probably more end of April or May. Like that's me, trying to not be overhyped. But definitely not in March.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And I come from VV community. They're like the king of delaying. Like they delayed a lot of things, and it's been like a year on some things, and it's like, oh my gosh. And so and that's kind of the typical what I've seen from some of the other games in this space, that they've also like delayed things just because, I mean, it could be anything. It could be like you said, the hack, or maybe there's some development that needs to happen in the back end that we just don't know, or they want to add a feature, or they want to add something to that. And so it could be anything, right? And so I agree. I think that they're delaying for a reason, or Lunar said, and then B, the overall market. Why not wait for the market to start maybe going back up? Maybe they will wait a month or two for the market to really go into hype mode again. So I think it's strategic, and I think it's good, for both the project and people buying land. So at least that's my thought. If I was running the project, I would wait definitely a month or two for the market to.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
No. The problem
Hey, that's
is
just me.
what you said. There's no way to know if it will go up or down. I think
true.
it will go up if we don't have, a nuclear explosion or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go up. Just now, SIM is going up. I think it's near to break some kind of trend line going down. There is something, last time we went up was with EIP 1559 from Ethereum and the burn of Ethereum token. Now we got the triple halving really near with the merge, if it's really in June or July. And I think the price will rally looking at that, and Ethereum moving to proof of stake. So yeah, but we don't know. So if we just wait for the market to look good, we can wait 2 years, right? So
yeah, definitely. I think, but that's the issue. The overall market has been causing some problems for the Illuvium team in a sense. The big and obvious one is the mobile game that they're trying to push. They're trying to bring forward, right? And they're waiting for good token price to be able to facilitate a lot of that stuff with the different people and the different VCs and all that sort of thing. And I have a feeling that a lot of other things, they're waiting for they're trying to time it really well. And quite frankly, timing is really important in crypto, but this time is so uncertain that it just seems like a more of a risk to try and time everything than it's worth. I don't know what you guys think of that. I think they might be waiting for like the markets to kick up and go bullish and everything before they launch the game even, and I think that's a huge mistake.
But you're speaking of the capital raise, which you want the best possible price. Now to launch the game, well, it's actually what can pump the price, right? If you look at Axie in like July, everything was dead post the May mini crash. They actually were the first to go back up. Like if you got a reason to go up, you will go up. Maybe you start the bull run, like what we've seen with GameFi again. So yeah, for the capital raise, they should definitely check when is the best possible time. For launching the game, I don't think there's a lot of value in delaying. Well, I don't even think they are trying to now. I think they're just, I don't know, Kyle, what do you think?
No, yeah, I mean, I think it would, coming from a gamer side, and yeah, like you said, Axie, that's a good point. A lot of solid projects, like in general, have been launched in like a bear market, and they still done really well. So a lot of it comes down to a good game in the community that really decides what's going to happen. But on the flip side, as we mentioned a lot, is the global uncertainty and what's going to happen. I don't think anybody was expecting what has happened, with Russia and Ukraine. Like that is, just the worst thing that could have ever happened. And, from an economic standpoint. And so, yeah, it's tough, because there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. If it was a normal bear, I'd be like launch all day, but, and so, yeah, so that's kind of just one of those very uncertain time type things,
Yeah. So hopefully they launch. Hopefully they don't let it slow down the progress of the game in any way. But we'll just have to see kind of like where they go with this sort of stuff. And that's all right. But I just hope they're not delaying it because of any overall market events. And as Eleanor said, Axie, that's right, Axie and the other metaverse tokens, but Axie seemed to kick it off. I think that was the May one. It went first, right? I'm not saying it brought the market up. The market was probably ready to rally anyways, but you never know. I mean, Illuvium could be one of the biggest things of 2022. So who knows? It could do some crazy work.
And as you know, I did a video, and I think it still has a big potential here in 2022 as well. And it's just that little short term that I'm kind of like, about the whole global situation, and even I've seen other games like delay because they had developers actually in Ukraine, so they didn't have a choice but to delay. And so that's another factor is, I'm not sure if they do have developers overseas in that, in Ukraine or the area, but that is something to consider as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There have been a few instances like that. So who knows? They did have some in Ukraine, I think, a small amount.
I think it was mentioned at some point that they had at least one.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and obviously it would be a good time to launch when there's no, let's say, war
Yeah.
going on at all.
And it would be a good time to just get people's minds like detached. Because I know when I'm stressed, what I do is I play games, and that could make a really bullish case for Illuvium when you have a ton of people playing it, especially now, and everything else going on. So yeah.
And there's always something going on. Of course, now it's maybe probably worse, but before Ukraine it was COVID, and before COVID you had different financial crises. You had the subprime. It's kind of always something. Maybe later on we'll have China and Taiwan. I hope not, or another pandemic, etc. So yeah, just launch. Like something else will happen. Let us play.
No, I'm 100% on board with that. Yeah.
Well, look, the gameplay from today was from what we're assuming the closed beta is going to be about, or what they've said the closed beta is going to be about. So that would put me under the impression that the closed beta is maybe already happening, or has just started, or is about to start. So that's definitely some good news as well. So we're going to jump on to the next topic here because we want to grab that last one as well. Also, we'll pen that in for later during the Q&A, but someone has asked what our opinion about the token unlock is, and there is a bit to discuss about that, but I think we should cover these topics first. Can NFTs help your portfolio during an extended recession or crypto winter or whatever? So there are many events occurring all over the world that are impacting global economics on a grand scale, as we just discussed. Can NFTs and even other collectibles, like things we've seen historically, like Pokemon cards and stuff like that, can they be a viable asset during, let's say, a financial hardship in the markets and things like that? Like the global financial crisis, did we see collectibles and things? I don't know a lot about this myself. Did we see that sort of stuff get affected by things like a global financial crisis in the past?
I don't think so. Like if you have a Picasso, I don't think the price was going down because there was a financial crisis.
Right. Yeah. Because at that point, if you own a Picasso or a collectible, it's not necessarily just there's a lot of sentimental value that goes into that. And it's kind of hard to put a price on that. And, if your target market is a market that has money to dispose on collectibles, then that collectible is going to retain value. And that does translate into NFTs, depending on the project. Not all NFTs are created equal, but when you look at Illuvium and what they're doing, that's going to be big. And it is the quote unquote, I don't want to say directly, but Pokemon of crypto, and the quality that they're putting out there is insane. Like you don't even see that from Pokemon itself, So yeah, I think that Illuvium's NFTs will hold value over time. Obviously they're not released yet, but I think those first initial ones will perform really well just from a collecting standpoint.
I think Anthony in the chat said it really well, but I think you're right. I think it's based in its own ecosystem. He said the value is to the exchange and how the asset is traded and used. I believe he's on track there. I think we're talking about if the Illuvium game and its ecosystem and everything is doing really well despite a bear market, then its NFTs will also do really well despite a bear market. I think it's really that simple. Where you talk about art, I'm talking about not NFTs, but art, regular art. If its market is still thriving, regardless of outside events and things like that, then the art will still do really well outside of those events. But in some capacity, Eleanor, do you think that outside and world events and things still impact 99% of markets in some capacity, even if it's not like crazy amounts?
Yeah, so I think the NFT, and Kyle mentioned that it really depends on which project, right? Because it's like saying, do you think the token will go down? Well, I don't think the stablecoin will go down, but it's kind of the idea. There's so many different NFTs. So those that have a utility, like the one from Illuvium that will be the actual Illuvial, if the game develops, they'll just gain value because, well, it's offer, it's demand and offer now. Will the Bored Ape Yacht Club maintain their value? Will the CryptoPunk maintain their value? I don't know. I would not be surprised if they dip a bit. I don't think the biggest that were sold for 21 million will be sold for 5, but maybe the floor will slightly go down. Now, I do expect a lot of very small projects to be totally crushed and totally destroyed and have zero value. The copy of the punks that just looks the other way, that kind of stuff, they all be crushed. And we've seen that before because we had the CryptoKitties, right? It's kind of the idea. CryptoKitties were totally destroyed; they were worth nothing, but they came back, and that's something that really impressed me because they came back even before etc. And now they're kind of alive. So I think, yeah, they can be probably affected a lot, especially the floor. But they might also come back at the same speed later on. Now, something that is really good is if you have some of those NFTs that have, different rarity and elements, etc. The big difference is nobody is kind of forcing a price on you like with a token. If people are selling a lot of tokens, the price go down. Now, if the floor of the ugliest NFT of the of your collection is going down, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody will not buy your best of a kind of this collection at a price that is similar of what it was before. And then it depends also what do you describe as price, because most NFT is priced in Ethereum. So the price in Ethereum might remain the same or go slightly up as it goes down in dollars. So you also need to see what you want to have. I got one goal in life. I want more Ethereum. That's what I want, right? So at the end of the day, I know Ethereum will go back up. So
yeah, and one thing too is with Bored Ape Yacht Club, they weren't at the same price. Like last year, like literally last year, I think that's around when they started picking up. It just has been a 45-degree, maybe even like a 90-degree angle, like parabolic, where they went like an insane value. So they outperformed the stock market. They've outperformed Ethereum. They've outperformed a lot of different other markets, just that NFT project alone. So if you do your research and find projects like that, Illuvatars, then you could have a good chance that it's going to be worth a lot and outperform the markets. So yeah, so I think it all comes down to, as Lunar mentioned, is which projects and things like that too. So that's very important.
Illuvitar thing. I think the Illuvitar really well thought. They take what I like the most of the game, which is changing the illuvials, and they never come back. And they apply that to some things they can change faster. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's definitely a big thing we have to swing back to, though, is Eleanor discussed CryptoKitties. Now, it came back, but 99.999% of NFT projects probably won't. Let's just put it that way. CryptoKitties, I think, is a little bit of a special case because a lot of, even if it wasn't, a lot of people see it as the first major NFT collection. And then when CryptoPunks shot up in popularity, and people were like, oh, NFTs are cool, NFTs are buzzwords and stuff, people were like, oh crap, CryptoKitties were the first, let's go buy some. So it had a lot of outside reasons to go up in value. And I'm not saying that every single NFT project is going to go down in value, but as Kyle and Eleanor both touched on, finding the reason for an NFT collection is probably more valuable than the NFT itself. CryptoKitties had the story where it was the first NFT collection, and CryptoPunks had the story where it was the most valuable and one of the first, and a lot of big names and things got into it and got involved with it. So those two you'd consider blue chips, right? And Bay C, as Eleanor touched on, had a really good run as well and is now a blue chip in itself. When you look outside of those three, I think you have other blue chips here and there as well. But when you're looking at things like Illuvatars, you've got to ask yourself, do you think Illuvium will do really well? Do you think Illuvatars will be a big part of its ecosystem? And do you think Illuvatars, a lot of people will really love them? So you've got to really think about the underlying utility and project that's backing something like this. Because NFTs at the moment are mostly speculation and people are getting them for the hype and all that sort of stuff. But if everything does start to become a bit of a mess, I personally believe that NFTs will be the first thing to feel it. You know what I mean? Because people, when they're trying to sell their assets and things, if they're getting scared and really scared and they're having trouble, they need to grab their liquidity. And at the moment, a lot of people, especially those bigger players, they have a decent amount of their liquidity settled in NFTs. because that's been one of the most lucrative ways to make money in crypto at the moment. So it's not a big surprise. So what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think that there'll be definitely some that will crash really hard. But it's my point on the floor, right? Nobody can really affect the price of your NFT. They can affect the price of the floor, but you can. That's a big difference. Let's say if I have 30 Ethereum, I, yeah, I can put a limit order, but nobody will get to that jumping all the rest, right? You see my point? Basically, you have to sell at the price or wait so that the overall market come back here. And if you got some NFTs that you know have potentially value because they're part of a project that will use them, etc., which are by far a minority. Most NFT are total crap. But something, let's say, like, the first Illuvita of Rampfire or whatever, nobody can stop you from selling it on OpenSea for 100 ETH. And while the floor will go down for all those that can be minted, since they've changed the sets, maybe somebody will just buy it for 100 ETH as the price of his go a bit down too, if there was really a bear market. And that's a big difference. Like you own still the possibility to sell it at the price you want. You want to sell it for $1 million, you can. Maybe nobody will buy, but the fact that the floor is going down is not blocking you from trying to sell it at another price. And even if you look at CryptoKitty or Axios, that kind of stuff, when the price were really low, there were some transactions pretty high for those that were, super, super rare. Well, that you got only with NFTs. So if you got a token, they're all the same. Nothing is rare. If you want to sell, you sell at the price it is, or you wait. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's all relative, if the price or the economy is down here and maybe buying power is not where it was, and maybe fiat's not as valuable as it once was. Of course, that's going to make everything value seem like it has went down, and yeah, but I think overall it tends to outperform other assets like the stocks or crypto, like we've seen. In a previous bear market back in November, the studies were showing that NFTs were actually outperforming crypto in a bear market. And a lot of people were, basically taking their crypto, putting it into blue chip projects like, the Doge pounds, the whatever, it doesn't matter. And as the market went back up, those projects picked back up. And I think that's the play. Like if you can find those blue chips and, buy them when they're low and kind of put your money in there in a kind of a safe haven asset, then when the market rebounds, your assets that you now bought will probably go up. So I think there's that side aspect to it, which is definitely more an advanced strategy for NFT traders or flippers. So there's that side that is successful. But as you mentioned, yes, I think obviously like with Vivi, there's been a bear market on Vivi right now. And the Todd McFarlane Batman statue was at like 15K, and then it pulled back down to, I think it's like 6 or 7K. So it's all kind of relative. But at the beginning of last year, it was only like 70 gems, and now it's like 6,000 gems. So it's like you're still up. Yeah, it got affected, but I'm still holding mine, and I'm not going to sell it. So, yeah, it's all kind of relative in how people feel and what they sell it at. But somebody at the end of the day, it's going to get into a collector's hands, and then that person's not going to sell it for that low amount like you did, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it over time, I think it will definitely transition into like collector's hands over time, and that I think that will affect price too. So I don't know. There's all these like nuances in an NFT space.
I think they do have a big difference where most crypto tokens don't have a finite supply, and I think 99.99% of NFT projects do. They're scarce. They're limited, right? So at some point, especially with the VV collectibles, at some point it makes its way into the hands of people that don't really plan on selling, and they have it for reasons outside of making gains or whatever. And then your supply just diminishes and stuff like that, and that causes the price to go up in terms of demand and supply. Now, with Illuvium, do we think we can see a lot of that? Obviously, there's going to be a decent amount of demand, and one of the big earning mechanics is selling alluvials on the market to turn a profit. But do you think once the alluvial supply starts to dwindle and we enter into set 2 and set 3, it will eventually enter into the hands of people that don't plan on selling? What do you think, Eleanor?
Yeah, plus the team mentioned several times that they'll have a lot of burning mechanism for the alluvials, aside from jumping in evolution, like stage 2, stage 3. I kind of think that there'll be one side that will keep burning, because if you want to be the best of the best of the arena, and there is some kind of mechanism where you can burn Fire to add 100 point HP or whatever to your existing Fire, and you do that a few times, and then you got a Fire that is twice as strong as a normal one, after spending crazy amount of money. Well, then it will be super relevant for the bets and competition in the Leviathan arena. So that's one aspect. And then there is the other aspect of basically what I want to do. I want to obviously play and have the collection, like to play extra, but I want to keep many alluvials stage 1 as I find them on the side and not sell. Why? Because I think that they'll have way more value in 3 or 5 years than they'll have in 1 or 2. Plus, I'm not even merging them, because I suspect the team will keep coming with different ways of rebalancing and burning this NFT. And you saw how the gameplay is, right? You can use Fire, but you can also still use this smaller evolution based on how much energy you have. Maybe at some point they rebalance, and having an Atlas stage 1 kind of pumped by burning more Atlas into it or something like that will be super relevant. So I think there'll be a lot of reason to not sell, to keep, to wait, and then maybe at some point assess that. So it will affect scarcity, and it will affect the actual value. But just the idea of being able to burn in more ways is just huge, because the set 1 will be burned away pretty fast. Like, even if it's, the first year will not have a crazy amount of players, I think, but year 3 will.
Yeah, I think Anthony also makes a good point, where Illuvium will be a 15 to 25 year game, in the chat, sorry. And I'm going to extend on that and say that it's not just Illuvium we're talking about. It's the next 10 games that they release, right? And all of these are going to use your Atlas, right? So at some point, you're not looking at 3 million, 10 million players on Illuvium. You're looking at 10 million players across the entire ecosystem, and then maybe looking at 10 million in each game, because that's kind of what Blizzard had. A lot of their audiences, their genres are so vastly different that a lot of their audiences didn't commingle. You know what I mean? Like, your Call of Duty Warzone player wasn't the same player as your Hearthstone player. Very different genres,
Crush, yeah,
but different people. But the big difference here is that your Atlas is used in both. Your Atlas isn't split. Your players are, but your Atlas isn't. So now you've got twice the demand for the one asset. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, long term, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking about too. Is just long term, the multiple games and ways that they have to use the same exact NFT, or alluvial, to do something else in a different game, but it's still the same one. That's going to create a massive demand for those, set 1 alluvials or whatever. And so, like Lunar said, like, they could come up with different ways and things to make them even more valuable and have more quote unquote utility. And Aaron mentioned already, and I interviewed him one time where he was talking about possibly introducing a hash token that basically randomizes things in the next game or the next whatever that they come out with. So yeah, I mean, it's infinitely, there's infinite possibilities with that. So,
and with the land too, right? They did mention that, Aaron mentioned that for each new game, you'll actually be able to farm something on your land for that game. So now the big question is, do you have the space to farm everything for every game, or will you have to kind of choose what you farm and you'll get revenue only from one game? But that's a full play of Illuvium, right? It's reutilization of the NFT, the more it grows, the more you actually can use them and they get values plus scarcity because it's just 100,000 land. So just the first set of the illuvials, etc.
Imagine if Pokemon released their first initial like Pokemon cards like that, where if you have this card, like it would do all this crazy stuff. Like how much more valuable would they actually be, even though they already are pretty valuable? Like how much more valuable would they be? And that's what Illuvium's doing. They're thinking about things. The template's already been made, but they're improving upon that, and I think that's what's cool.
It's even more crazy. Just imagine like your example, right? If you had those Pokemon cards, and the first set is the only one with Pikachu, and if you want to play in whatever game, you need that card, and that's what they're doing, right? It's like these Pokemon Unite right now. If it was done by Illuvium, you would need this Pikachu Atlas from set 1, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. That's just kind of help you relate on. I want my Pikachu.
And then add on top of that the blockchain, right? The issue with Pokemon starting out, they didn't have the blockchain.
Yeah.
It's fun to imagine it with the cards and stuff, but counterfeiting something like that, not very hard to do. Let's face reality here. But now we've got Illuvium, we've got the blockchain, we've got all that sort of stuff. A lot of this becomes a reality, and that's why it's happening now. But yeah, I definitely like to see it move towards that direction.
It's
okay,
exciting.
so let's jump into the last thing we're going to chat about, and then we'll field some questions. We don't have a lot of viewers. That's okay. My first time on Twitch, but we do have 10 viewers. That's pretty awesome. Thanks for everyone for joining us and watching and everything.
That's
really
not bad
appreciate
for
it.
an announced Twitch. I think it's not that bad.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I announced it on my socials, but didn't I forgot to actually put it in the Illuvium Discord and the Shiny Shards Discord.
I did.
There you go. So the last thing we want to talk about, and we're going to go into the token unlock straight after this. I think that's a good topic to chat about. We might not get many questions, so we'll probably have a small Q&A. But what are our goals for the upcoming land sale? What sort of land are we looking at getting? My personal belief, and what I've always discussed on my channel at least, is if you're interested in playing land, get something. I don't know how lucrative it's going to be, but as Eleanor has said with many other topics and things in this discussion already, it is scarce. Okay, there's only 100,000 plots. Future utility could be added as well. It might give you access to something down the road that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, and things like that. Like, there's so many speculative possibilities about land that it's so hard to put a price on what they're worth. But I think if you're interested in playing the land game, I'd definitely try and snag something. But I'm not in a hurry to overpay, right? So I only say this. I don't want to FOMO. I only say this because there will be other land sales, right? This is the first land sale. I have other opportunities to see what I've missed out on if it turns out to be really, really awesome and better than I expected. However, you do also run risks. This is something I haven't talked about as much as if it turns out to be really great, then a lot of other people are going to notice too. And now instead of fighting 200,000 people in a land sale, you're fighting 3 million people in a land sale, which is obviously a lot harder. I mean, hopefully gasless, so not as painful as it could be in its first land sale, but it's going to be harder. What are you guys' current thoughts? I'm going to be aiming for a T2 personally, but that's only because I can probably afford a T2. Not really much other reason.
Yeah, so like you said, it's going to come down to personal or individual choice there. Like if you're going to be all in on the game or Louvatars, that might be your niche, if you will. But if you are more of that passive, kind of investor mindset, the land might be something you're interested, or you could do both. So I think it's all comes down to personal preference there, and what works best for you, your lifestyle, your IRL life, if you will. And so for me, I think it'd be smart, if you are a little bit remotely involved in the community of the game, it might be wise to pick up a tier 3. Tier 1 is probably out of the question for most people because what's I don't even know the bottom dollar on a tier 1, but I'd imagine it's
could be looking at just under 1 ETH. I
Oh,
reckon
1
it
ETH?
could
Yeah.
sell at. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought tier ones were going to be like 5, 10 ETH or something like that.
Tier 1 is the smallest, yeah.
Oh, tier 1. So I got it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So I would say tier 1, if you're remotely kind of, wanting to take part in the ecosystem and play around with all aspects of Illuvium, it's smart to probably get, the tier 1. But if you're super serious about land and you're super bullish, then that tier 3 could be a good choice for you. If you're, you know, you have a lot of stuff going on in your IRL, but you want to make money passively from the game, then that tier 3 might be a good option for you if you got the coin. So it all comes down to your personal, choice.
Just a misconception that I heard a lot, and to make sure everybody understand, is as far as it was mentioned, for every land that you have, you'll have to play 30 minutes a day if you want to earn anything. So it's really not a passive income. Like, you have to be there, and if you got 10, well, you spend your day on it. So that's something to consider. That's not the part I like the most. I would have liked it to be something more passive, but then it would not be a game, and the idea was to create another game. So I kind of see both aspects. Personally, I still think the tier 4 sucks. I'm super disappointed by tier 4 as they came. I think right now, so they mentioned several times, Johnny has been clear that they'll do whatever they have to do to make them more interesting. But the last proposal and data they share was supposed to make them, each tier would produce 3 times more than the previous tier. But then when you actually look at it, it was not there. And tier 2 was like the best in production compared to the initial price. Personally, I think that tier 4 need to be way better because they will lack the liquidity that the other will have, right? Plus the potential to raise in price. Because if you get, let's say you're lucky, you get a tier 1 at 0.5 ETH. Yeah, selling it at 4 ETH, is not that crazy if it goes very well. Now that's an 8x. The tier 4 will not have an 8x like they are right now. You bought them at 20, you will not sell them at 160. Like, who will buy that? There are too many of them. That's one of the issues also. There are a lot. I thought they would have, more like Axie with the Genesis one, that you'll have maybe 200 tier 4. You got thousands. So yeah, I'm still thinking there's 2 big aspects. One is I like the tier 1 because of potentially, if there was really, recession, something huge, well, more liquidity is good, and possibility to flip and sell and come back later on. On the other side, something I mentioned several times is we got a really competitive team. Kieran, Aaron, well, Johnny to Grant, they'll not tolerate to have the worst land NFT project of the metaverse. And if the tier 4 really, really bad for some reason and the price went down a lot, they will not sell on the next auction until the price go down a lot. It's not in anybody's interest. So I think it's one of the good thing of this first sale. If you can find a good price, because yes, I don't want to have a baser, but if you just stay, online for 3 days and try to find when there is some kind of dump and people are not buying at the time, I think there will be opportunity, because they will have either the land will go very well, or they will have to make them better so that the next sale is not a disaster that end up being bad news and bad publicity for the main game. So that's my hope. I think that they'll just need these to be working well and cannot have the worst projects. So yeah, I'm planning to spend most of my SILV2 on lands. But now, which land? I think, well, they mentioned they would sell lots of like groups of 4x4 and 3x3, like Megacity before the Megacity. I would love that, but I expect them to come with a premium that I'm not willing to pay. Like, I think it's Megacity are not there yet, right? And we know the delay, etc. So paying way more just because you got them together, I think it's not justified right now. But yeah, I do think there'll be some holes, moment where people spend a lot of money then they don't have, and just for a few minutes, a few hours, somebody got one at 0.1 ETH. Well, I want to be there watching. So that's what I'll do.
And just on that, guys, I'm definitely going to be streaming as much of the land sale as I can. And I'm
So we
obviously
can
going to be
buy
having a
before
lot of
him.
these discussions.
He's gonna buy, buy now, buy now.
Yeah.
And I'll probably try and get guests on and stuff as well. That could be really fun. So if you guys are interested, just let me know. We'll have a chat about it later. But yeah, I think you make some really good points. There's so much uncertainty. I think you're right. We need to see more from the T4 at least, but even the T3 about what they can do and what they're willing to offer. So I think in the first land sale, going for something like a T1 or T2, or as Eleanor said, I think the T1 will appreciate the most in value. I'm not saying 8x, but I think it will be worth more than what most people pay for it. And using that logic, if you have a lot of money to spend and you're uncertain about future times ahead, as you guys said, maybe getting a few T1s and flipping a couple of them could be the best play. But obviously, you're leaving risk to more demand down the road for the T3s and T4s. But I think we'll see they might be adjusted in some way before the second land sale. And then a T3 and T4 might make more sense.
Just be
That
really
being said, they'll have more
careful.
demand.
Be really careful on the hope of flipping right away, because a lot of people, like, people are not stupid. They'll buy the SILV. Like, if you can have twice the land and the thing is real and you can buy it now, the SILV will go up. Like, there's no doubt about that. There'll be a margin, which is basically the transaction cost in gas, etc. But even if you got a 10% discount, why would you not buy with the SILV? Like, you would be crazy. So a lot of people will get more than what they wanted using the SLV. And something that was mentioned in the Discord several times is some of them will feel that, well, like, if you had $200, you got, or 2,000, and you got more or less 4,000 to invest because you use SLV. Then if you sell at 3,000, you're still making gain.
Yeah.
Hence, you might end up selling it in ETH lower than the price of the auction. So careful with the flipping, because the price might go down just after for a while, because people will want to take profit after being locked that long. So
Yeah, and they might want the liquidity or what have you. So yeah, I think in the short term, I'll be more bullish on the game side than the land side. And like Eleanor said, maybe sniping on land.
Yeah. Sniping land. I think Eleanor is right, and that's a really valuable strategy. We've seen that with a lot of things. I think Vivi is a really good example where we've seen this exact arbitrage. So what happens in Vivi is, since you cannot sell your gems or get them out of your wallet, right? A lot of people sell them for cheap on the market, and they're like kind of like a secondary market outside of Vivi, where they sell gems for 0.7 of their value. Now, what this does, or what it did a long time ago, I don't think it's happening so much now. What happened was you bought something on the drop for 60 gems, and then you sold it after the fact for 50 gems, because that's what you could sell it at. And since you got those gems for 0.7, you were still turning a profit in the end, right? And I think this could definitely happen with land. So there's a strategy here where if the majority of land is selling for what Eleanor said, I think 4,000 USD or whatever, but a lot of people paid 2,000 USD for that SILV, and they sell for 3,000 USD. So maybe you wait for the land sale to finish and you grab those flips in the middle, which will be lower than the majority of sales inside the land sale, if that makes sense. That's a lot to take in. What do you think, Kyle? Because you've seen the Vivi stuff a lot more than me.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a couple different scenarios. I think it's going to come down to how successful that initial land sale could be. Now, if the land, like, if it's super hyped and it's going to do really well, then yeah, you could flip it directly after if you wanted to, and then wait for the market to dip. But as Lunar said, it all comes down to like how well that initial land sale is going to do originally. So it's going to be, you have your A scenario and kind of the B scenario, and you should probably be prepared for both. But my guess is that there is a lot of plots of land, and so it's not like there's only 10,000 of them. There's 100,000 land plots total. So it's going to have to do well for that strategy to work. So it all comes down to that, I think. So it's kind of like you have to play it by ear up until the land sale day and see the hype and what's going on, and kind of do your own analyzing to what strategy you might want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we're just going to jump onto this last thing I want to talk about. And Anthony posed this question earlier in the in the chat. I'll probably clip this for my channel as well. Let's be real. Is the token unlocks? Obviously, it's the biggest question of the century. Maybe I'll get around to making a video about it today. I do want to make a video on it soon. But what's going to happen? Is the token price going to crash and all this sort of stuff? The token unlocks, from memory, there should be about, I think, at least 100,000, but I think up to even 300,000 tokens from the seed invests and stuff unlocking in March 31st. Someone said March 30th before. I thought it was 31st. I mean, 1 day difference. That current circulating supply is about 640,000. So you could be essentially 1.5xing the Illuvium token supply on that day. Now, I know the team is fully aware of this. They are setting it up as much as they can so that the unlocks are delayed until the Illuvium game launch. Whether this will happen, no idea. Technically, they have every right to have it unlock on that date. I don't think Illuvium can force their hand in any way, but they can definitely try and convince them. And I know that they've carefully picked out their seed investors and things like that as well. So do you guys think either the token launch is going to happen, either token unlock is going to happen? And if it does, what do you think will happen at the price? What do you think, Eleanor? I know you have something to say.
So there's three different aspects, right? You got the team tokens, the seed tokens, and the pre-seed tokens. The pre-seed tokens, they got it for $1. Even at the actual price, that's 500x. The pre-seed token, I think it was at $3. So it's more than 100x. Now, with the liquidity we have right now, if they sell, they lose money because they cannot sell. Like, you cannot duplicate the amount of token and have one half that just sell. So there've been different discussions that Kian mentioned in interviews. So one was to raise money to buy also from the pre-seed. I think this was not a good idea. Like, you don't raise money to buy back investor. It makes no sense. Now, another idea was to match pre-seed. The good thing is that the pre-seed, you know who they are, right? It's not some of these randomly that bought on the balancer sale. You know exactly who they are. And if you can get some kind of raise of capital, or you do it OTC on the side, and basically you got, hey, here's the VCs that wanted some of our token. We can give them to you for 300 a piece. And the other one got a way to exit at 300 a piece. They both win. So that's the best possible scenario. Now, if it's done like that and they can lock them away, then nothing would happen for this chunk. If it's done in another way, I'm not that concerned about the selling because they just very little liquidity. If you sell, they'll just, increase volatility. Will go down fast. It will go back up fast. But my issue is more on the number you see on CoinGecko, right? So you got the fully diluted market cap, which very few are looking at, even if they should, and it's super high. And then you got the market cap, which is super low because it considers only the token from the balancer sale. Now, those amount of token will duplicate really fast and more. At the end of the day, they multiply by 14 in 2 years. So that's a pretty big thing. When you had the release of the game at the same time, which was supposed to happen in March, and everything was kind of at the same time, then there was a chance for one compensate the other. But now we're speaking of going out in July, plus there's absolutely no guarantee that it will happen, right? It could be in August, a lot of things can happen. So yeah, I think there'll be a huge, let's say it's all probabilistic, right? But I think there's a huge risk for big dip. And I don't think the RevDs from the land sale will compensate that. It's actually really good news because, well, if you want to buy Illuvium, you might have a really nice opportunity. Plus, it increases the ROI of the actual dividend you receive with RevDs. But for people that are locked, well, it's not as fun. But that's also why I'm taking as much silver I can and go full on land with potentially flipping some, potentially not. But I think people are not aware enough of the risk of dilution that is coming because of that. Like, it's huge. It's like from 600,000 token to almost 10 million. You will feel it.
I think just on that though, this token probably one of the reasons I love Illuvium so much is based on the revenue distribution model, it has one of the best staking incentives out of any crypto project I've ever seen. I mean, there leaves a lot to be seen, and we have to see how the game performs and things like that as well. But there's so much incentive to stake that your 600, your supply might be mostly locked up. I mean, what is it, like 70% of Ethereum was locked up at some point in staking? This is better than that. I mean, there's a capped supply.
Yeah.
Ethereum doesn't really have a capped supply. It's becoming deflationary slowly, but it's not there yet. But I think there's definitely... I'm not too concerned about 14 times more tokens being on the market, but you make an excellent point. It's definitely something that people should be aware of, that the diluted market cap will be here in 2 years. Whether the game will outpace it is another question. But when you really think about it, essentially 100% of in-game revenue goes into the market cap. Now, every year, I'm hoping we could be looking at least 2 billion a year is kind of naturally being pumped into the market cap in some sense. Maybe in 2 years, we're still on $1,000, but I think the stakers will be rewarded anyway. So I'm personally loving staking. I think it's got a lot of incentive behind it, but there's definitely risks. And if you're heavily watching the token price, you should definitely be really careful. If you've got a really long-term mindset, I think that's a different story altogether. What do you reckon, Carl?
Yeah,
Illinois.
No, just one small point is actually it really depends how you look at Illuvium, because if you look at Illuvium as a speculation token where you hope it goes really high, well, it can happen, right? I mean, Doge and Shiba went really high. Anything can go really high, but but it's unlikely because of the dilution to come. Now, if you look at it as a stacking DeFi protocol, where you will have more than 10% almost guaranteed, without the kind of risk that you would have as structural risk or that you have with Anchor and Terra, etc. And if you ignore Terra and Luna and Anchor, the yield are really low now. So if you got something that is almost guaranteed 10 plus, well, it's really good, and it's a really different perspective too. So yeah, sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I agree with kind of Lunar said, and yeah, token unlocks are never fun. You got to go through them at some point with most projects in the beginning phase, and the price always reflects a token unlock, and it is what it is, and so those are always good entry points, and yeah, it would be good to have those funds, partake in that and scoop up the cheaper token price, or like Lunar said, have them maybe have a discount on some of the token or whatever. That could be a good strategy for Illuvium. And but yeah, if you're looking at this long term, that could be a nice entry point. And I'm honestly looking at that for another continued DCA to lower my my average cost, my dollar cost average, even lower and lower. And that's a good thing long term. I can say in a year or two from now, like this was my average price, and look here in a year now, like this is way up here. And so yeah, you could look at it as a good or bad. It just depends on who you are, what your situation is, or if your token's locked. Yeah, it may not be that awesome for you, but there's different strategies, as Lunar pointed out, what you could do. So it all comes down to personal opinion on that one. That one's probably a little bit more I would say on the divisive side, I guess, because everyone's going to have a different opinion. What I'm going to do is just look at the short term and see where I can buy more, and for me, that's good. So yeah, it's all depends on personal strategy. At the end of the day, we're just going to have to see what happens and go from there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting either way, and to see what these seed investors, do with it, or maybe they are super bullish long term, which would be awesome. But price, like I always mention, the retail investors are the ones you definitely need to watch out for too, because it's not always just founders or seed investors. Sometimes it's the actual people who've been, retail investors who trade emotionally as well. So, yeah.
And it's
I
coming
think
also, right? There's 2 dates. So in March, you start the team pre-seed and VC, and then the actual retail that's stacked start to unlock, I think, in June or July.
Yeah. I think what Eleanor said before as well is the tokenomics are a passive income machine, right? The best part about it is the RevDiz isn't governed by token price at all. Technically, I mean, eventually it will be once the space matures. There's a lot of money in it and things like that. You're starting looking like something that's so big that it moves slower. It could be governed by it, but it really isn't. So what you're looking at is if you have a token that's worth $1,000, and as Eleanor said, you have a 10% ROI because you're making $100 a year because the game's earning a certain amount. If your token price drops to $100, your $100 a year doesn't actually change. For that token price, your ROI just went up to 100%, which is good in its own sense. But really, if you're looking at it for the RevDiz isn't really impacted by token price. All that it means is that if the token price goes lower, maybe you can snag some cheaper because all of a sudden you're going to have more RevDiz and it's easier for you to obtain. But it really, they don't actually correlate that much, or at least they won't in the beginning, I don't think.
They do
Eleanor
in a
thinks
way. They do in a good way because the RevDiz is not influenced by the token price, but the token price is influenced by the RevDiz.
yes.
Because the more they earn, the more they'll buy back of their own token, and the lowest it is, well, the highest the volatility, etc. So that's actually another really interesting thing: is the lower the price will go, the more ill you'll actually get as a reward. And well, in percentage of your ILV is going to be higher, even if in USD is going to be the same.
And like the good thing too about like this year is we've seen a lot of big gaming studios get into the space. A lot more eyeballs are in the space. What we're gonna see is like funds, the Alamedas, which is basically ran by the owner of FTX. We might see some of those big funds move into the space. They already are in the space. Invest into projects like Illuvium. They are long term. They have the money, and if they see a token dip, and they could say, "Hey, I'm gonna put 10-50 million into this project and hold it for 5 years. I know I'm going to get this RevDiz, and happily we're going to live happily ever after, and we may see some of that as well. So who knows?
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna have to start wrapping it up. I'm just gonna leave the floor for a little bit to see if anyone has some more questions that they want to ask us. Because I promised a Q&A, even though it's getting a bit late and probably should be heading off in a minute. If anyone has a really pressing question, we'll be happy to grab it. So we'll just leave that for a minute and see where people stand. So yeah, I'm really excited. I hope V2 comes out soon because I really want to see how much ILV I've got. The thing on that is that we're actually going to benefit from this pause. I don't know if you guys are aware. Eleanor, you're probably across it, but Kyle, you might not know that we're actually going to get quite a big bonus in a sense, because let's say, I don't know exactly what the APY was, but I believe it's paused on about 300% APY, right? They haven't actually calculated the staking rewards. They're going to not wing it, but they're going to like guesstimate the staking rewards. So what's going to happen, right, is the staking rewards are supposed to decrease every fortnight, and the amount of people piling into the protocol also makes a decrease in everything. But they don't have the maths for all that, or at least they probably could calculate it, but that's more speculative than fact. So I don't think it's right to do so. So what I believe is going to happen is they're going to say, okay, look, for the 2 months we paused it, you get 300%. That's that. So what is happening is you're getting 300% over 2 months instead of 300% in the first fortnight, 294% in the second fortnight. Maybe things change and you had 250% in the third fortnight. You're not getting all that. You're getting 300% for those 2 months. So it really hurt that staking was paused, but we're also going to be getting some benefits coming out of it. So I'm really excited to see kind of what my
There's another aspect too. The other aspect is anybody that was not locked could leave, right? So if it's actually enabled, you can leave now. You could leave for a while, but nobody can get in.
Yeah.
And the percentage might be way more than 300 because many would have left if they could, and it was kind of moving a lot. But there's no way to come back. So hopefully it will be more in the 400 or something like that. We'll see. But I think that's where the most reward will be, the fact that and there's a lot of people that want to stack. In the friend channel, there's a guy that's been asking for a while, when can I put my money in? Like I got the ILV, I got the SLP, and he has to wait. Well, all the money is not earning right now. We are. And it's an extra.
See, what we'll do is we'll create a subreddit and we'll like do a GME and we'll all just YOLO and then no, I'm totally kidding. And then the price won't dip and we'll all be no, I'm totally kidding.
I definitely think ILV could see some new highs this year. But Illinois is right. Eventually the unlocks will kind of like hammer it down. Maybe we'll be back to 500 again at some point, maybe next year or something like that. But I think we're in for a volatile market.
And for me, that's like good because then I can get more ILV. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we better wrap it up. Huge thanks to both of you guys for joining me today. It's been awesome. This time is probably going to be one of my more recurring times, but I'm still synthesizing a lot of the information. But it seems to work well for a lot of people, especially Kyle. So it's definitely something I want to be keeping tabs on, as well as my other time, which is Saturday AEDT. I think it's like 9 p.m. ish EST on a Friday
night,
that sort of time. Yeah. So definitely go subscribe to these guys' YouTube channels. Maybe I'll post it in the chat before I log off. But this will definitely be reposted somewhere, and I'll make a mention of that on all my socials as well. So don't forget to subscribe to me and my Twitch. And yeah, Kyle and Eleanor as well. Eleanor, do you have your link tree handy? You want to chuck it in the chat for me? I'll grab Kyle's channel maybe.
Yeah, I got it. You don't have to grab it.
Easy. Chuck that stuff in there. I didn't know you could do yt.com. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I forgot the HTTPS though, so it didn't work.
Oh, you already beat me to the gameplay video.
I was quick with that one. I was surprised.
Released on the American schedule.
That's why, I was shocked when they did that, and I was like, "Thank God," because usually somebody, you guys Aussies beat me, so.
Yeah, Vulcan's usually first to it by a landslide, and then Venomor sometimes gets onto it. I'm usually away from home, so I can't do anything. Damn, you beat me to it. Well played. Yeah. So definitely, those two things are in the chat. I don't know if the chat stays when the stream ends, but we're about to find out. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime soon. I'm going to be trying streaming weekly as much as I can. If you guys have any topics you want to see, I'm going to make a suggestion box on my Twitch. That's a really good widget I can add for future topics and things like that as well. So definitely check that out. I'm going to be growing this Twitch as much as I can over the next couple of months, because obviously this might be my primary streaming platform for when Illuvium launches. It's a lot more streamer and gaming friendly. I think that's the big thing. It will help me help the community more than YouTube might. But you never know. I might mix it up and see how it goes. We're definitely going to be messing around with it. I think Illinois uses a bit of Twitch as well. And Kyle, I don't know if you use Twitch at all.
Not so much. I'll stream just gameplay over there, like when I have free time.
Yeah. Illinois, will you be using Twitch much when the game launches?
Yeah, I definitely will. We'll see how I'm on time, but because right now I'm kind of in holiday for a while. That's why I'm starting back in May. But I'm using Twitch for the French podcast, which is sponsored by Illuvium. So basically, we've got a French community that is discussing crypto in general every Sunday at 5 p.m. in Paris. And we chose Twitch because we thought, let's, get as many hours and followers on Twitch, and then we can put the replay on YouTube. And then, we don't stream on both because Twitch doesn't like that. So if you want to become a partner, that's why we're not doing that. But yeah, I think Twitch is the place for games, right? You can create tutorial video and that kind of stuff that stays in YouTube. But if you just want to share when you're crushing the Leviathan arena with your new Brimfire, you do that on Twitch.
Yeah, don't tell them the strategies. We don't want more competition. So I'm just kidding. No.
Well, what have I done?
No, I'm just kidding.
And as always, I need to shout out the Shiny Shards Guild, the Discord link I don't have on me right now. Anthony, if you have it, you can post it. But yeah, so they definitely helped me put a lot of this together and help me get started. And there's a lot of people that I've been able to talk to there that have really helped me get different members and things and guests inside the stream as well. So that's big thanks to them as well. Definitely go chat in there if you guys have a lot of questions about the guild, Discord, Illuvium, all that sort of stuff. I'm definitely chatting in there semi-frequently, so you can always find me and sometimes Kyle as well to have a quick chat to as well, which is awesome. So yeah, no, thanks everyone for joining me. It's been awesome. Thanks to the audience as well for posing all your questions and giving us some chat during the stream. Always awesome to have some community there helping you out. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you, everybody. See you.